The Boys may be a unique and refreshing take on the superhero genre, but that doesn't mean that they didn't copy other superhero shows.
I gotta go.
The Boys is known for its over-the-top gore and outrageous humor, as well as being a subversive take on the superhero genre. Basically, it poses the question, what would superheroes be like if they were actually a bunch of horrendous and dysfunctional people, or in otherwise, the villains?
Good question.
The Boys is a jet-black satire of the superhero genre and is quick to parody a number of big-name superheroes, such as Superman and most recently Daredevil. That often means it chooses to copy/take inspiration from other pieces of work, reimagining it in The Boys' typical off-brand way. One of the shows it takes inspiration from is CW's hit show, The Flash. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the parallels between Amazon Prime's The Boys and CW's The Flash, as while they are presented very, very differently, there are some key themes shared by both of them. From weird mother issues, similar character arcs, and of course superheroes running real quick, these are some of the times The Boys look to The Flash for inspiration. Beware, spoilers for The Boys and The Flash lie within. Let's just get the obvious one right out of the way, huh? The Lucy the sperm whale in the room, let's say. And that is that A-Train is very clearly a parody of The Flash. The Boys is very clearly parodying a number of famous superheroes, primarily the Justice League, with Homelander being a parody of Superman, with just a twinge of Captain America, and Maeve being a parody of Wonder Woman. By the same maxim, A-Train is very clearly a parody of The Flash, with some of the aesthetic styling of Anthony Mackie's Falcon, with them both having the ability to run at super speeds, regard themselves as the world's fastest man, and when they run, they are perceived as nothing but a blur. While The Flash is most likely to be the faster of the two, A-Train also moves at inhuman speeds, and can move so fast that he can literally run through someone, as we saw in the first episode. Thankfully, that never happened on The Flash, otherwise that would have been a totally different show. Not only do the two of them have super speed, but they also are faster than the average man in thinking, talking, reacting, and have a faster heart rate. Although for A-Train, that isn't helped by the copious amounts of compound V that he takes. Another thing they share is that they both have supercharged metabolisms, meaning like the sports stars of old, they have to take in high quantities of calories and carbs to move as much as they do. Barry Allen indicated that he eats 50 times his body weight in a day, and although he is a skinny little guy, that is quite impressive, while A-Train has to consume 3,000 calories a day to stay in shape. Although by looking at them, you wouldn't know how much they're eating seeing as they burn it off so quickly. Meanwhile, I'm still carrying my Christmas holiday weight. I am happy. I'm happy for them. I'm not jealous. As we mentioned earlier, it's not just the Flash that The Boys mimics in their superheroes, but a plethora of other characters as well, just like the hilarious shade they threw at Daredevil with the character of Blind Spot. While they're not exactly from The Flash, we see other members of the Arrowverse parodied in The Boys. One of the superheroes who's actually a hero, Starlight, is very reminiscent of Arrowverse member Supergirl, while a new addition to the show, Eagle the Archer, takes after the man himself, Oliver Queen, as well as being comparable to MCU's Hawkeye. These parodies of characters we see on The Boys are basically just dark reflections of the CW characters, what they would be like if they were very much flawed. We don't know too much about the backgrounds of the Seven and their lives before they became jumped-up superheroes, but in the latest season of The Boys, A-Train alluded to the fact that his childhood wasn't so rosy. As A-Train confronts Starlight over her leaking the news about Compound V to the world, Starlight makes a comment about how money isn't everything, to which A-Train says that is something people who had money would say. While they don't go into further detail, it does hint to the fact that A-Train had a rough childhood. And seeing as The Boys seems to be going into further detail in regards to the Supes, and given the likes of the deep and somewhat redemptive arc, it might suggest that we'll see more of A-Train's upbringing later on. It also might show why A-Train is the way he is, and the root cause of the drug-related issues he has. Barry Allen also had a rough upbringing, with his mother dying when he was young after being murdered by the Reverse Flash, which led to his father being falsely imprisoned for the murder. So yeah, not quite an easygoing childhood then. When you're going at supersonic speeds, it's unsurprising that internal issues might occur. particularly to the organ that pumps blood around your body and keeps you alive, your heart. Both Barry and A-Train suffer heart issues at some point. After taking a hit of electricity in the Season 5 episode Oh Come All Ye Thankful, Barry's body shuts down and goes into cardiac arrest, with his heart eventually giving out and flatlining. Thankfully for him, though, Nora's on hand to save him, turning into a human defibrillator and resuscitating him. Similarly, in The Boys at the end of Season 1, when A-Train confronts Starlight and the boys, he goes into cardiac arrest, which nearly kills him and leaves him in a coma. While A-Train does survive and returns as an active member of the Seven, so far we see him still struggling with heart issues, suggesting that this will be a recurring issue. The Boys is somewhat of an ensemble show, without a traditional lead like The Flash, but one of its main leads, Hughie, and even arguably Butcher, have very similar motivations to Barry Allen in The Flash. In The Flash, Barry is held up on the death of his mother at the hands of a villainous Soup, and will do everything he can to avenge her death and bring the killer to justice. Similarly, Hughie is also motivated by the death of his girlfriend, Robin, with him looking to take down the ones who are responsible for it and will seemingly stop at nothing to take down Vought and the Seven. Ironically, though, the death of Robin was caused by none other than the parody of The Flash, A-Train, when he accidentally ran through her after irresponsibly running to get more Compound V. Similarly, Butcher is also trying to take down Homelander, who he believes was the cause of his wife's death. Until we find out at the end of Season 1 in a bombshell that she is still alive and is raising Homelander's son. Although that hasn't put an end to Butcher's motivations, with him desperate to get his wife back and take down Homelander once and for all. As we just mentioned, The Flash is driven by the death of his mother, and is one of the reasons he works as a crime scene investigator and will stop at nothing to save her, even starting the new Flashpoint timeline in the 3rd season. Hughie also seemingly has mother issues, with him not having his mother in his life, and originally just living with his father. This could explain one of the reasons he's so protective of the women in his life and so desperate to keep them in it. Another man who also has significant mother issues but handles them in a much weirder way is Homelander. Another one whose mother is absent in his life, Homelander blurs his relationship with Stillwell in a half-motherly and half-intimate way, which is showcased in his strange obsession with milk, which is some pretty McPoyle levels of creepy. Thankfully, Barry doesn't have the same obsession, as again, that would make it a very different show. Homelander has been one of the most intriguing characters on the show. The way he can turn from a charming and seemingly clean-cut hero to a homicidal maniac dripping in villainy in an instant is captivating. Homelander is certainly arrogant, suffering from a severe amount of hubris and always wants to assert himself as the alpha. And when you have powers like he does, it's not exactly surprising. But his way of speaking and personality is somewhat reminiscent of Tom Cavanaugh's Reverse Flash. Both are arrogant men who like to assert their power over others, and have the same seemingly clean-cut image while sporting maniacal smirks. Also, they both have the bluest eyes. Like, seriously, those eyes are mesmerizing. Another similarity between The Flash and The Boys is the headquarters, both of which are owned by the villains and are where soups are created. In The Flash, it is Star Labs, which is at one point led by the Reverse Flash, unbeknownst to everyone, and it is the central cause of Barry gaining his powers. In The Boys, Vought and the Seven operate out of Vought Tower, which is also the home of the lab where Compound V is made. They also look somewhat similar, with the bottom of Vought Tower a similar style and design to Star Lab, although that might be because it is based off of a real building, the Roy Thompson Hall in Toronto. As we've mentioned before, the Boys' primary motivation is taking down the Soups and living in a world where they're not run by the Seven and their power-grabbing ways. The Flash's Zoom also has a similar goal, taking down all the other speedsters in the world, although admittedly his motivations are for selfish and evil purposes. What's similar, though, is that the Boys are trying to create an army of Soups, or as Homelander would say, supervillains themselves to help take down the Seven, while Zoom brings an army of metahumans to take down the other Earths and become the only speedster on the planet. Hopefully, we'll also see a grand superhero battle in The Boys, but after Stormfront brutally killed Kenji, we may have to wait a little bit for that. But it does feel like an inevitability that the Seven will take on a bunch of supervillains at some point, and that is a very exciting thought. So, what do you make of the comparisons? Which is your favorite superhero parody from The Boys? Let us know in the comments down below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel today for everything The Boys.